Hello everyone, my name is Josh, and this is the Skype for Business recap. This is the November 18th episode. If you watched my previous episode, you know that I'm kind of releasing two episodes back to back. I missed last week due to a family situation that came up, but I'm back. I'm back to getting my content caught up, getting things out to you guys, and trying to get a normal flow going again. So here we are, November 18th episode. While I was really out of the social scene last week, did not know all the things that were happening and what was going on, I enjoyed getting caught up, and there was clearly much going on. So we're going to dig into those things from the last week today. Let's start out by jumping over to the Infinity screen as usual, and let's open up to the first bit of content we've got today. GregandSydney.com. This is Greg Sheridan's blog, and for those of you that don't know Greg, he is a Microsoft Most Valued Professional, MVP. He is located in Australia, and he blogged about, just yesterday, the Lync Server 2013 update, the November 2016 update. So we saw the Skype for Business Server 2015 update come out last week. Lync Server 2013 was right behind it, and there were a few key items of note here. He lists out the different KB articles, for each one, and then gives us a link. Very thorough and organized here. I like that. Thank you for providing this in such fine format, Greg. The things that were fixed: improving the experience of moving users in a Lync Server 2013 environment. Apparently there's issues with moving users in Lync Server 2013 that I wasn't aware of. Skype for Business mobile clients don't show telephone numbers for some users on the contact card. You can't join a meeting from Safari or Firefox through a Lync Server 2013 Mac app. And then you can't join a meeting from outside Skype for Business or Lync on iOS 10.0 and later versions. So a few pretty decent problems were addressed and fixed there, and if you are still running Lync Server 2013, I'm sure these may apply to your environment in some way. So that alone is a good reason to maybe look into getting this update rolling. Start planning for it at least. What's new? Lync Server 2013 adds support for the Skype for Business for Mac client. That's the big thing right there. So for those of you that have Macs in your organization and users who have been dying to get the Skype for Business for Mac client, but you're still on Lync Server 2013, you can fix that whole situation now with the update. So time to look into doing that, right? The same commandlets that were added to the Skype for Business 2015 and its CU4 were also put into this November 2016 release for Lync Server 2013. We've got Get CS Platform Service Settings, New CS Platform Service Settings, Remove CS Platform Service Settings, and Set CS Platform Service Settings is the name of the game here, essentially. And then we got the download for the actual installer, KB article here. The installation, as he says, here's the before view of going in on his standard edition front end, and there's a few components touched on. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. So just the 4 components: core components, core runtime, conferencing server, and web component server. Everything else was up to date. The things that he called out about it was, and he says his front end was current prior to installing the update, so there was no need to update the databases. Good thing to know. After you've run the installer and updated the databases, if required, meaning you weren't up to date like he was, don't forget enable CS topology, fire off your bootstrapper, all right? And then lastly, if you skipped an update or two, you should run the update CS admin role after you're done, just to make sure the new commandlets added in previous updates are accessible when PowerShell remoting. Reboot? No, he says no reboot was required if you were already up to date and applied this new November 2016 update. So there we go. Very good, concise, clean, clear update from Greg Sheridan on the new Lync Server 2013 update. Thank you for that, Greg. Much appreciated. All right, we had the November 17th, 2016 Skype for Business broadcast regionally hosted meetings topic here, okay? And if you look at the title down here, it's not just regionally hosted meetings, but it's also meeting migration service. So I'm going to provide the link to this as well as the write-up that I'm about to go over so you can, one, watch it, and two, we can cover some notes on this particular episode. Very good episode, great content, stuff we have been waiting to hear for quite a while, especially in the geographically dispersed tenant realm here. So this is episode 30. Again, I'll provide this link. Let's jump over to the Martin Bohm. Again, I spoke about him, a separate post he had in my last video. In this video, he's got the regionally hosted meetings Skype for Business broadcast, and he gives some notes on this, all right? He's kind of first starting out calling out what the value proposition here is, and this is huge. What he's saying, coming soon, admins will have the choice where users are located so that users and meetings can be hosted regionally by assigning their users to different Office 365 data centers. Huge step forward. Now we get a little bit of a data center location as shown below. This is an important graphic. Wish I could kind of make this bigger here. So since I can't, we'll just go back to the post. But the allowed locations, we can see all the different locations where this at. Under development, we've got the UK and South Korea under development. And then not allowed, we've got the US government community. And then let's see, China, operated by 21 ViaNet, and Germany, operated by T-Systems. And finally, Brazil is not set up for this yet. So those are the multi-region support data centers that can be utilized here. As he calls out, it's more than just meetings, says Jamie Stark. So we talked about the meetings component during Ignite. My interview with Jamie, actually, we sat down and we talked about this very topic, and we talked specifically about meetings. But now that they have talked about this a couple months later, it is apparent, and we are seeing that we are not just talking about meetings. We are talking about user locations where users are logging into, where the user data is stored, not just the meetings. That is so huge, so huge. That is going to make such a big difference for companies that have been slowed down with their Office 365 adoption plan because they are spread out geographically and want to be able to take advantage of the local data centers without having all their users go to the location of where the tenant was set up. This is so big. We go down here and we look at an example of today's architecture, all right? An Office 365 tenant that was set up in North America. So all the servers, all the infrastructure is in North America. You've got a Contoso office in Los Angeles, a Contoso office in Sydney, two separate continents, both traversing the internet and both having to log in and do their meetings and do everything through the Office 365 tenant. That's a bummer for the people in Australia, right? Now we go down here and we see that below the Office 365 data center is added for the customer's tenant. But in some cases, some customers have controlled this traffic through their own internal environment so that users in Australia, despite the fact that there are multiple Office 365 data centers out there, users in Australia will be routing through their Los Angeles office and then up to the Office 365 North American data center. Okay, they control that traffic internally so that all the media and everything goes to their own corporate WAN and they're not having to worry about traversing the internet for that stuff. So they're still not hitting a local data center, but the company has tried to solve the problem by bringing all that traffic through its own WAN. Still not optimal. Now we go back here, and this is where we want to get to. This user has been moved to the Australia data center. So even though the tenant was originally set up in Office 365, this tenant is now spread out, multi-region. You can put users with their meetings in whichever data center you want to, and they will log in directly to that data center. I am sorry if I'm getting a little bit too excited about this, but this is freaking cool, and I've seen a lot of customers who are going to benefit from this, be very excited about this. So awesome stuff. So glad to see this coming, not just for meetings, but for users and user data. They go here and they say, look, for the scenario earlier where the company is solving the problem of bringing the users through their corporate office, they might not want to do that anymore, because now if you move that user to Australia and you still have your on-prem infrastructure set up to route that traffic, now the user is going to be going from Australia to their US-based office and then up to the Sydney, to the Office 365 data center for the Australia area. And that is not optimal at all. So this is something that companies are going to need to be aware of as they adopt multi-region and start deploying that. They need to make sure that if they have tried to address this problem earlier through their own networking and their own infrastructure, they need to kind of prep their infrastructure for this change. Good stuff to be aware of here. All right, a couple more notes he goes through here. How do customers move forward today? All right, right now this isn't preview. Go sign up at skypepreview.com under NDA section. So this is under the NDA section. Please note that. Out of preview at the end of this calendar year. So once this calendar year is over, we're getting out of preview here. Limited availability to start with. Premier customers, this is the path that we must go. Premier customers must call Microsoft support at the end of the year, and customer works directly with Microsoft to enable their tenant for multi-region. That is step one in this graphic down here. So step one is not actually something you do on your own as an admin for your tenant. You need to work directly with Microsoft Premier Support to get your tenant converted to multi-region. Okay. Once you've done that, then you configure the allowed locations for your tenant. And then step three is setting the online location of users. So this is where you're now going into Office 365 and saying where your users' locations are. The user then gets moved. Number 4 here is just kind of the next step for if your user is on-prem and you are moving them to online. And really doing this is no different than this commandlet, this step for moving a user from on-prem to online. That's already something you do if you're moving a user from on-prem to online, regardless of where they're located. That's already something you do. But they've added it in here as a step 4. If you're in a hybrid environment and you are moving users from on-prem to online, you're going to use that commandlet to do that. All right. Last thing here. What happens to existing meetings when moving those users? We all know about the meeting migration tool. Okay, this is a tool that really relied on end user interaction, which is not the most ideal situation for most administrators. Now there is this new meeting migration service that is being introduced, and this is a service, okay, that we can use to do this. So no longer a tool for end users, it's a process on the back end. With Exchange Server on premises, you still have to use the meeting migration tool. But if we look at this slide here, they said Skype for Business Online Scheduled Meeting Update Service. It replaces the migration tool. It works for users moving to the cloud from on-prem, and it works for users moving across regions. So a user that was based in the US or any other region and is being moved to a different region, a different data center, this service in the cloud can move all their meeting content for them, change out all those URLs and all that. The catch here, like I said earlier, you have to have that mailbox in Exchange Online. Have to be in Exchange Online. All right, you cannot, if you're on-prem with Exchange, you still have to use the meeting migration tool. Okay, this is also going to be available later this calendar year. Okay, he has a few other topics on here that I'm not really going to get into at this point. You can go ahead and read that and check it out for yourself, see that our thoughts he had. Thank you, Martin. This was an excellent write-up and a great topic to be excited about. Lastly, let's jump over to Matt Landis is another Office Servers and Services MVP. He had a blog post on the Next Gen Skype Meetings. No sign-up, no client meetings. This is cool. We're going directly to Skype.com. All right. Once we get to Skype.com, you click on Start a Conversation. Make sure you are not logged into your Microsoft account, all right, to see pure guest functionality. And then type in a name for yourself and the meeting is in progress. So easy to get a meeting going. Like he says, you get nice chat, audio, video, meeting functionality without the login. Once the guest user who has set up the meeting is the admin, you can do a lot from within. You can name the meeting, give anyone a URL so that they can join without a login as well. Toggle whether you want to allow notifications on each IM. Make chat history available for the new joiners. Easily toggle. There's like 7 different things he lists here that are really big and neat things to do, all without ever logging in. What is the capacity? He points out here, he was in a meeting with Tom Warren and started noticing that there were 499 participants. All right, so that's a pretty big amount of people to be in a meeting like this. This is awesome. Edge browser seems to need no plugin for audio video. IE and Chrome do, okay? Then he says how to easily avoid joining using the Skype client. So if you've got your client running but you want to stay in the browser, just cancel the browser request to use the Skype client and then click on the join conversation on the web page itself. What collaboration methods are supported using these meetings? Video, group chat, voice, sharing photos and files, and sending emoticons and emojis. Desktop sharing is not supported. Kind of a big one for regular Skype for Business users, but keep in mind this is Skype, not Skype for Business. So very thorough, very good write-up, and very impressive new meeting functionality coming to Skype. Why, you may ask, am I talking about Skype when this show is primarily about Skype for Business and other Microsoft UC-related topics, Office 365 stuff that works in that realm? And the simple answer there is I'm beginning to see blurred lines, personally. If you watched my last video, you heard a little bit about how I said that, look, we're starting to mix marketing signals here. We're hearing the word Skype a lot more in place of Skype for Business directly from Microsoft. Microsoft Teams itself, apparently is set up with Skype under the hood and not Skype for Business. So you have to start asking yourself, how are these two worlds going to come together, if they are going to come together? And at this point, I'm starting to believe they are going to come together or melt together or start to have a lot more of a working relationship than we currently know and we currently see. I don't know what it's going to look like. I could throw theories out all day long, and I'm not going to go down that road. But I believe. Let me jump out of here, out of my infinity screen and back to my regular camera. I really feel that Skype and Skype for Business, the further down this road we go, are going to be less and less different. And their feature sets are going to start to become more and more alike. And we're going to see more and more integration involving both. And it just has to make you start scratching your head and wondering where this is going. That's about all I'll say on it, okay? Think about it for yourself. Look at some of these things. Watch this video and the last one and look at Microsoft Teams and look at the Richard Brentison's blog post from my last video and just think about it. It's interesting. So thank you all for joining me today. I appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great and wonderful weekend. If you're in the U.S., there's quite a cold front taking over a bunch of the U.S., so stay warm, stay safe, and I hope we will see you guys back here next Friday. In the meantime, nothing in the meantime. Stay safe. Adios.